Okay everyone, welcome back to the channel for another video on Gran Turismo Sport, and as you can tell by the intro there, we've got some drama for you in this video. So if you do enjoy these videos, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification button so you don't miss any videos in the future, and let me know in the comments what you think about the incident and the race in general, because we're going to be bringing up a few topics in this highlights video for FIA. So this is slot number 2 of the day. I didn't get on for slot 1 because I had to pick my partner up for work, so didn't have any time to really warm up. Just jumped on. We managed 5 minutes of warm up or something like that, and we managed to put the car actually on not that bad of a qualifying. It was not brilliant, but P13 in top split, slot number 2. 414 points I think available in this one. Not too bad at all. So let's join the action. This was the first race we've done, obviously, so again this was a fuel saver. A lot of fuel saving required in this race, so into mixture 6 straight away, weaving the tyres there just to build up some temperature, because yeah, into the braking zone for turn 1 you're going to need a bit of temperature. As you can see, Khaleesful there obviously didn't have enough temperature in his tyres, so again you're going to see a little bit of weaving in front of us there just to get a bit more heat in his tyres before he goes into this really fast flowing section. My tyres were okay, I felt like they were pretty in decent place for temperature, and then through here in mixture 3. So this was, like I say, this was my first step. We hadn't done any warm-up perhaps in anything with fuel saving, and I was going with the mixture 3 through here, and then mixture 1 for the straights and short shifting. Now this probably wasn't the best strategy. I'm going to talk about the fuel saving more when we get to the second slot, because I think I did a better job in that one with the fuel and started to figure it out a little bit better. But this first slot is more about the incident that's going to happen during the race. So you see all very bunched up through here, everyone just wanting to be in the slipstream. This is partly because the settings of the race were so dull. They were brutally boring, I'm going to say that. Polyphony really do need to start adding some better combinations for strategy, because this race could have been an excellent race. I have to say this could have been one of the best races of the season if they'd made it a bit more entertaining. So how I would have done that: standing start, all 3 tyres compulsory, 20 laps, a slightly lower fuel consumption as well of times 3, and this would have been a brilliant race. However, they went with the boring no stopper on hards. Bit disappointing, but nothing we could do about that. We had to race the combination we were given. So at the moment we're just following behind Khaleesful there. He's got Zavizic in front of him. No, he's actually got Agu in front of him at the moment. Zavizic is a little bit further on from that. So Agu there going for the move on to P11. You can see P11 getting a penalty there. And what you're going to see P11 do now, well, who's now in P12, is I think he thinks he's got to take the penalty on this lap. So he lifts and expects a penalty to go. I have done that before, so I'm pretty convinced that's what he does there. So he drops himself down. We're up to P12, and as well Khaleesful manages to put himself up into P10 by taking Agu. So that is my suspicion of what that driver did there. He thought he had to take the penalty, and I have done that mistake before in, I think it might have been an FIA race. I can't remember, but I have done that mistake. So yeah, it's easy to do. He probably just didn't realise that it was that late on in the lap that he'd have to do it on the next lap. So he's going to have a double penalty from that one now, because he's going to have to now take it on this lap. So up into P12 again with fuel saving through the corners, up into mixture 1 for the straight, and now we're going to try and get behind Agu, who is trying to stay in the slipstream with Khaleesful. He is dropping off ever so slightly though. You can see, I'm not sure if he's actually lost the slipstream there already. He's very close to losing it though. So into the braking zone, we're going to brake quite late. We're only in mixture 3, so we can brake quite late in mixture 3 because we're not taking as much speed into the apex, and we're just trying to follow through the section here now. Very tricky section, again staying in mixture 3, and you're going to see a difference to the way I drive this sector and some of the other sections on the lap. You see even going down to first gear there, you can see when we get through to the second slot, I really did optimize the fuel a lot better. So we will talk about the fuel more so when we get to slot 2. So working our way down the straight now, again into Agu's slipstream. He has actually lost the toe from Khaleesful in P10. So what I decided to do here was really rev it out in mixture 1 and actually go for the move. So you can see we're getting quite a nice slipstream from Agu in front of us. We're going to go into mixture 3 and again save some fuel mixture 2 to give us a traction into the braking zone, and then we can get the power a little bit smoother. So we pull that move off quite nicely, nice and smooth on the exit, and now we've got to try and see if we can catch up to that group ahead of us. So we've got no slipstream now, but we're going to see if we can manage to catch them up. as we're going to just fast forward the action again through here, as we're just using that mixture 2 this time, using mixture 1 down the straight, short shifting still, trying to catch while fuel saving. Is so frustrating. It really is, because you want to use your fuel up. You want to be like going flat out to catch up, which you can do if you do, but then you run the risk of using a little bit too much fuel. So we managed to break the slipstream to Agu pretty easily. He seemed to be struggling with the fuel saving in this race. And now we've got Atomics behind us, who also hadn't done much practice for this round. So we just got to try and stay ahead of him and see if we can catch up to this group in front of us, which is not going to be easy, obviously. So we're going to skip a little bit further ahead, and we did actually get a little bit closer. You can see we're almost into we're in the slipstream with Zavicic there now, working our way a lot closer there onto lap 8 out of 14. So over halfway through the race. But again, we still got to do the fuel saving. I did use up a little bit of fuel to get ourselves to this position, but looking at the percentage of fuel that we had left, it was actually okay. So even though it says 4.2 laps of fuel, sometimes that can be slightly wrong, because if you start accelerating in certain places of the track, it will start going a bit out of sync. But yeah, the way I look at it for this race was a percentage wise. So we knew that 7% a lap. So at this stage, we're actually looking okay for fuel. Working our way into the back straight, just about into the slipstream, but then losing it by the end, obviously, because the closer you are to the car in front, the more slipstream you get from that car. So Khalifa obviously managed to get himself up into P9 by overtaking Zavicic, and we're now following behind Zavicic, who has a little look for a move there. Is he going to go for the move this time? He is. He sends it up the inside, and he nearly loses control on the exit and actually flicks the car into Khalifa, which causes Khalifa to back out. I don't think there was anything wrong with the initial entry. I think the initial move was fine. It was just on the exit. He nearly lost control of the car and nearly flicked Khalifa off the track. Luckily, Khalifa got off the throttle because he probably knows about that curb. And then that obviously forfeited the position to me. So Zavicic did an okay move. I think nothing wrong with it until the exit where he nearly kicked Khalifa off. But yeah, I mean, it was kind of a racing incident. So we're now up to P10. We're going to fast forward the action through here as Zavicic is approaching Somi, the driver that we saw at the intro of the clip. He's going to go for a move on Somi there. He's got right alongside him. It did look like Somi was struggling for fuel on this race because he's dropping back a lot here. He started, I think, P6 or 7, and he's really dropping back and fading. So he's struggling with the fuel saving, and we're getting a lot closer. And we're now into that slipstream of Somi now. So we can have a look at maybe going for a move on him at some point, which we're probably going to get to, as you can tell by the intro. We got Khalifa right behind us as well, and you can see that Zavicic is pushing on now for P7. He's going to be going for that move, possibly a little bit further on in the race. Now down the straight, using mixture 1, you can see mixture 6 again to save fuel, lift and coast into the braking zone, and we're very, very close to Somi there. So Somi's now trying to stay with Zavicic, it looks like. However, through this section, I don't know whether he was saving fuel or something, but you can keep an eye on it. He does look like he loses the slipstream to Zavicic by the end of the fast-flowing corners. So through here, just mixture 3, just trying to make sure we stay just in the slipstream through here. You don't really want to be ultra aggressive and just kill your tyres, because there's no need to, as long as you've got the slipstream. Into the braking zone, we hooked that up quite nicely, and we get reasonably close. Mixture 1 now, onto the throttle, and we're going to accelerate through this corner, and still short shifting here. Now, we wasn't going to go for an overtake, but as you can see here, he brakes very early, and he also seems to hold the wide line, so I decided I'm going to send that. However, once he turned in, I realised that he wasn't going to give me the position, but unfortunately for us, he reacted quite badly. Now, I hold my hand up, 100%, I think it was a send. It was a dive bomb, and I would have been quite annoyed if someone did that to me. I totally admit that. However, I think his reaction was totally out of order, and the reason I went for the move was because I thought he was giving me the move. Just look how he stays to the left, stays to the left, stays to the left, and then he turns in once my car's there. That is why I was kind of annoyed. And yeah, at the end of the day, I think that I was going to give him the position back. Once he turned into the apex and wasn't giving me that position, I would have 100% gave him that position back, because I wouldn't want to do a move, an overtake that was caused by an incident like that. But that reaction right there is where it was all pathetic, because for me, if he had just waited, he would have kept the position. I would have given him the position back. I've done it many a times in FIA and daily races. I will always give the position back if I feel I've done something wrong. So unfortunately, he just lost the plot and took us out. I didn't react too bad though, to be honest, because I knew this race didn't really matter. We were going to go again. But you can see now from his view again, you're going to see my car up the inside there. And at that point, I think, you know what I mean? If he had just given us space there, we would have both got through anyway. But he carries on turning in. There is contact there. Totally fair. I hold my hand up. It was an aggressive move. And one that I probably would have been a bit annoyed at if someone did to me. But I would not react like that. This is a top split FIA race. And you cannot do that. This is an esports competition with the best drivers on GT Sport. And I know people are going to say you can't ban people for that, but you can. They already have done. There's been multiple drivers been banned in top split FIA for doing stuff like that already. You're going to see it from the reverse view now. I personally think what I would like to see is just temporary bans, not permanent bans, just maybe banned from round number 10 or something like that. You know, like the next round in the championship, maybe get banned. But the reaction of that, just to ruin both our races, and then he rage quits as well, it just seemed a bit pointless and a bit childish. But at the end of the day, we didn't really kick up much of a fuss, to be honest, because I was going again. We weren't going to take the points, and yeah, I wasn't going to get a good enough result in that race anyway. So this race we qualified P7, and luckily for us, Somi down in P14. So this time kind of roles reversed, and hopefully we will not have to deal with him because he was suffering with fuel anyway. So if we just keep it nice and smooth, we won't have to worry about Somi getting anywhere near us to take us out of the race. But yeah, I 100% still say I have to take some blame for that, for the dive that we did. But I think the reaction from him does warrant some form of penalty. I think that kind of reaction for top split, we need to start setting an example to these drivers of maybe disqualifying them from the next round so they just cannot enter. I'm sure Polyphony can do that with the system they've got. They can stop certain people entering. I'm sure they can do that, and I think that's something they should start looking at, because it would deter people from reacting like that in an instant like that, because that was just the biggest overreaction I've ever seen on the game, especially for a top split race. But this one now, let's see what we can do. We're in P7, qualified okay. I think it was a 30.8. It wasn't an amazing lap, but again, considering we had done no practice, I was actually pretty happy with starting from P7 in this race. And we're following behind P6 there. We got Fire up in P3 at this stage. I think we got Zabazic in P4, and Mira, who started in P6, is already up to P4. P5, sorry, having a very, very good start to his race. So he's going quite aggressive. He's all over Zabazic already. Credit to Miro how he drove this, and I kind of think I know what he did. I think he decided to go very aggressive on the opening laps and then save fuel at the end. Was probably quite sensible, because everyone's very vulnerable at the start, because they're all too worried about saving fuel. We're all like, look at us, we're all saving fuel down the straight, and this is what I think he did. He just basically went aggressive when people are saving fuel, and then saved his fuel after, once he had slipstream to a faster driver. Quite a good way to do it, actually. I'm quite impressed with Mira's driving in this one, as you can see again, going for a move on Fire, and now he's put himself up into P4. So driving aggressive but making the moves, and it all looks fairly clean. I'm not 100% if all the moves were clean, but it looks pretty clean how he's driving this. For us, we're going with the different strategy in this one. You can see short shifting mixture 1 on the straight, and you're going to see a lot of mixture 2 being used in the slower sections this time. So what I'm doing now is I'm using mixture 2 but short shifting mixture 2 rather than revving out. So we were revving out mixture 3 a bit more, now we're short shifting and staying in third gear through here, just so we don't drop down to second gear, because second gear will use more fuel. Again, through here we're not going to go into first gear, staying in second gear there. That's going to save us a bit more fuel again. And then this final corner, trying to avoid, while the grip on the tyres is there, trying to avoid going down in first gear. Now I did do first gear a couple of times if I felt the understeer kicking in, just to help the rotation. But in general, the higher gears you stay in, it's not only better for tyre wear, it will help your fuel consumption, because you've got lower revs. So yeah, obviously you're using a little bit less fuel. But again, on the straight, we're going to do the trick of going higher on the fuel mixture. This is the trick, the tip I should say, that I'll always give to everyone. At the end of the straights, go into mixture 6, because you've got the slipstream of the car. You're only going to lose out a few miles per hour. Then you can lift and coast into the braking zone, and then that will save you even more fuel. It's a really good way to save fuel. I learnt this from Bathurst a long time ago, driving in the Corvette. I think it was a 10-lap race, and people were doing no stops, and I couldn't work out how they were maintaining the pace that they were maintaining without pitting. I later found out that people were doing that with the fuel mixture. They were going all the way up to mixture 6 at the end of the straights and just using slipstream from cars in front, and then obviously pushing on the last few laps. So it is a really good way to help save your fuel. Again, into the braking zone, very strong on the brakes through there. I found I was able to brake very late, and again getting very close to P6. And now into mixture 1 briefly, as we want to try and get a little bit closer to the slipstream. So mixture 1, but short shifting again. I'm not sure. I mean, maybe this strategy would have been a better way to go about it, just really short shifting mixture 1 through all sectors. I think you could have done it. I don't think you had to go in mixture 2 through these sections. I think you could have just short shifted mixture 1. But now we're going to go onto the back straight, and this is where you obviously do the majority of your fuel saving, because we're in the slipstream, so we're short shifting around 70% there, and we're going to just keep short shifting all the way up the straight, making sure that we keep the slipstream. Slipstream was so important for this round, because you lose the slipstream, you lose your ability to save fuel then. However, you are a little bit faster through the corners, so I found that when we weren't in slipstream on the previous race, I think it was, we were actually a little bit faster through the middle sector. So there's pros and cons to each, but you obviously would prefer to be in that slipstream just so you can save a bit more fuel. So perfectly fine through here. Again, mixture 2, just short shifting that mixture 2 onto the straight, mixture 1, short shift mixture 1, and then back into the braking zone, mixture 2 again. It's just, this was a really simple way to do it as well. It just required less fidgeting with the fuel mixture, just staying in 1 and 2, and then again always on this straight. Once you get to about 165, 170, something like that, start up in the fuel mixture, and you can see I'm doing that pretty much every lap, because you're not going to lose a massive amount of pace, and you know the cars in front are doing it, so you might as well do it. Otherwise, if you don't do that, by the time you get to the end of the race, them cars are going to have more fuel than you, and then they're going to be able to push, and you are not going to be able to push. But yeah, this was pretty much the tone for the race, and this is why I think that it would have been a better race if we had the 3 tyres available, standing start, 20 lap race. It would have been so much more fun to see, you know, different people starting on different tyres, getting ahead of people on mediums and hards, and the thing with this track is you can actually overtake because that long straight. So it's a shame. I think they could have made this race really entertaining, and it's really frustrating that they didn't, as we have a little moment then, as you can see when we fast forward the action on the exit of the curb. I've only just remembered about that point. We got on the curb slightly, managed to save it, and kept on the power, and worked our way back down into the braking zone, obviously saving fuel again. Not going into mixture 6 because we had that little issue, so I wanted to just get a little bit closer. Lift and coasting another way, really important to save fuel. Lift about 50 yards before the braking zone or more. Let the car coast into the braking zone, losing speed, and then just gradually get on the brakes and trail brake your way through the corner again. This is another way that you're going to save some fuel. So yeah, some important tips. I'm trying to give as much information to help you save fuel if you ever get around like this, because in Group 4 these tactics are very important, because in Group 4 it's very easy to follow another car, so you can really save a lot of fuel in Group 4. But in Group 2 I think it's a little bit trickier to stay with the car, but in general it's really important to save the fuel on the straights. But we're going to skip ahead to lap 13 because we broke the slipstream from the car behind. The race was not the most eventful race of the year, let's be brutally honest, partly due to the settings of the race, but we had managed to stay on pace with some very fast drivers. Do you know what I mean? With little practice, we got P2 just up ahead of us. P1 by Tuner Balls managed to break away and give himself a bit of a gap, but it's not a massive gap. You can see I think he's about 3 seconds ahead of P2, and then you've got P3, 4, 5, 6 and 7 myself. But this lap we decided to really give it the beans on the straight, so maximum revs. He hasn't got the slipstream. Now I knew that because he didn't follow fire, so that meant for me it's going to be an advantage if we really rev it out. If he starts saving fuel, we might be able to go for a move, which it looks like we are. He's definitely saving fuel, so we're going to pull out and try and brake nice and late for this corner. We brake really late down into mixture 2 just to give myself the traction again on the apex of the corner, and we make that move with a really nice clean move, putting ourselves up into P6. And now all we've got to do is push on and finish this race. We ain't going to probably catch up to fire. So fast forward the action through here. Again, using mixture 1 because I had pretty good fuel left. Didn't really feel the need to do too much fuel saving. Mixture 2 through here. Managed to catch fire up a bit through there because he made a little mistake. But yeah, there was no way we was going to get in the slipstream and go for a move. So again, onto the start, finishing straight. Going over to the right to stop him getting the slipstream, but I don't think P7 had the slipstream, the fuel to really push anyway, so he didn't even bother following that slip. So we go over the line with a P6, and I decided to take that result because this was the 3rd slot of the day, and we know that the points really drop drastically in slot 3. So top split, P6, 328 points. That is a reasonable result, I think, especially with no real practice, and I was pretty happy with that. So yeah, remember, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, let me know in the comments what you thought about that issue and my idea of maybe giving temporary bans of like one race or something like that, maybe with an email reporting system like iRacing. I think it could work, but yeah, let's see what they do for GT7. Anyway, I'll see you all again for more videos. Thanks again for watching, everyone.